So I know that irregular uploads aren't exactly new for this channel, but it's been a lot worse as of late. Like, a lot. My issue isn't a lack of ideas, equipment, ability, or anything like that. I've got plenty of fleshed out scripts, a good mic, some genuinely awesome editing software. The issue is that I don't have the time I'd need to execute on those ideas. Like, I was going to use these in my next mock showcase, had it all scripted out and everything, but I could never justify taking the time to take more pictures and edit everything out, because there was always something more important in the way. Even this video took a lot longer than expected, and I'm deliberately making this as quick as possible. Now, there's a reason it took me so long to realize all this. While job-related stuff is an obstacle, it's not a deal breaker or anything. After all, I've been uploading videos throughout my time in university, and that's more than done with now. If I'm being honest with myself, it's because of my social life. To make a long story short, I live in a place with a couple other nerds, and we're basically the de facto gathering spot for all the other nerds in this town. When our local game store isn't open, people come here, and I'm fine with that. I get to hang out with friends a lot more often. I do a lot of D&D, Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh!, there's a dedicated art night. Most days of the week see at least some kind of fun event, and I don't participate in all of it, but it's enough that dedicating time towards larger personal projects has become, well, it's just less of a priority. I had time set aside for friends, for my work, for myself, and that hasn't left a lot of room for YouTube stuff anymore. And the weird thing is, I'm not sad about it. I have a good life, I'm having fun, it just doesn't leave me with enough time to write story content and make YouTube videos and run an Instagram account. When things started developing this way, it was hard for me to identify the problem at first. It's all free time after all, and I had plenty of that. How could I have no time for videos if my schedule is open enough for all this stuff? And the answer is that, well, it isn't. If the content I made was the same stuff I was doing with friends, I wouldn't have this problem. But I'm the only Bionicle boy in town, okay? If I want to make progress in anything, it's gotta be on a slower day, and those are few and far between. So if I want to make meaningful progress on the online front, I think I have to consolidate things a bit. Here's the main issue with YouTube stuff. My standards of quality have risen far beyond what I have the time to follow through on. I have all the tools and the skills, my time is just pulled elsewhere. I could lower my ambitions and put out basic slideshows, but I wouldn't be satisfied with that anymore. I don't want a channel that's just mock JPEG slideshows with music in the background, and as easy as tutorials are to make, that doesn't interest me either. I want to use this awesome editing software and set up whole scenes with multiple mocks, use a moving camera, all that good stuff. Now you might just say, that's okay, just start a project and pick at it when you can. I'm okay with waiting a while for videos if it means they'll be special, and that's kind of the problem, because I'm not okay with that. So I love reviving Bionicle as a series. If you've watched it, you don't need me to explain why, and if you haven't, fix that. But there's one flaw with it that's really hard for me to overcome. Be honest, when a new episode comes out, do you have to rewatch old videos to understand what's going on? Because I know I do. The story is phenomenal, but intricate narratives don't mix well with long waits between installments. And while those videos have a really good reason for long waits, mine kinda don't. I want to make a complicated story. I want to be ambitious and create something spectacular with lore videos that weave between each other, but that means each viewer needs to remember at least some parts of previous videos in order to understand things, which means it needs to be fresh in their minds, and my videos really don't have that privilege. Videos just take too long to make, and the end result isn't long enough to justify that wait. But Instagram posts? Those are a lot less demanding. Let me make one thing very clear. I'm not leaving YouTube. I still have everything I need to make content, I just don't live in a world that enables that. But living situations aren't stagnant, monolithic things, they're fluid, they can change. I might move at some point, another hangout spot could come along, I could get a different kind of job, and if any of those things happen, if that situation offers me more time, I know where that time's gonna go. But until then, things are gonna have to change. Here's what's gonna happen from here on out. Instagram is going to be my main hub for content. DeviantArt will be even more dead than usual. And YouTube, well, I still have plans. Over the course of the last couple of videos, I've mentioned a few major projects that I was working on. I'm still gonna hold on to one of them, I'll explain that later. But since I'm refocusing my content, I probably won't be making the other two. But I already have the scripts in place, so you know what? I'm just gonna release them. The first one is, and I kid you not, a real university level paper I did, with permission by the way, as my final advanced major paper. I was working on it over the course of an entire term, conducting interviews, always writing and refining things until the very end, and I did it about Bionicle. Those interviews were with these guys, and you can find out everything linked down below. The basic concept for the paper is pretty straightforward. If you're here listening to a niche internet personality in an even more niche community, you're probably somewhat familiar with how Bionicle lends itself to storytelling, but somewhat wasn't good enough for me. I wanted to do a deep dive into those features. How exactly did Bionicle turn kids into storytellers? How did LEGO enable that process? Which features were intentional? Which ones were incidental? How did the online fanbase contribute to that? And so on and so forth. There's been a lot of analysis of Bionicle from its own community, but I don't think anyone's ever gone through this angle before. So if that sounds interesting, maybe give it a read. My original idea for that project was to do a quick rewrite, make it a bit more casual and friendly in tone, and make that into a video essay for people to enjoy. And maybe I'll do that in the future, but that's years down the line at bare minimum. So for now, you can enjoy the raw academic study of those funny little Bionicle things. Next up is something that should give you a bit of insight into how I worked on projects for this channel. My next character video would have been Omni Nura, the source of all those blue tendrils you've been seeing. I picked a song and scripted everything out, but I don't think I'll be following up on those ideas. So after this video ends, I'm going to show off what I have in a very stuffed version of what Omni Nura's video would have looked like. It'll just be basic text along with reference images for the characters involved, but it should give you a good idea of what I intended to make. Finally, I have some proof that not all hope is lost for this channel. Remember the issues I was having with uploading? The next time I upload, I'd want it to be something huge, something that can stand alone, something that doesn't need you to recall information from several months ago. And while I'm releasing 2 scripts now, there's a third one I'd like to keep hidden, though I can give you a quick rundown of what's in store. Dioriverse is a series of long-form videos where I give you a top-down perspective of my story, world, and characters. It'll feature a ton of mocks, but it won't be a series in a traditional sense. My universe acts a lot more like a collection of interconnected short stories than a single grand narrative. So while mock videos and character bios can offer some details, Dioriverse will be a map you can use to tie everything together. The first episode is already fully written and covers the fundamental building blocks of this universe. It'll explain the 3 different eras my story exists in, focusing on the pantheons that govern each one. It'll go over how they work, how they got there, how their existence impacts the world beneath them, all that good stuff. Dioriverse will also cover a light thematic discussion about whatever the topic of the day is. It certainly won't be giving you all the answers as to what this stuff really means, but it's not meant to. It's designed to get those gears turning. So if you're like me and really enjoy a deeper thematic analysis of media, there should be plenty of stuff for you to chew on. But if you're not into that, well, like I said, I'll be keeping things light. YouTube will no longer be my primary focus for content, and I can't see it regaining that title anytime soon. In the meantime, I'll probably just treat this account the way I treat DeviantArt now, as a dumping ground for anything too big to go elsewhere. Eventually, the first episode of Dioriverse will arrive. It's a long ways away. The script is done. Audio work is going to be a pain and it'll need a lot of visuals, but each episode of that can stand on its own 2 feet, so the gaps between each installment shouldn't hurt too much. And without further ado, I give you the scuffed version of Omni Nura's character video. Enjoy, and I'll see you when I see you.
You've seen the nightmares come alive. You've seen the sweetest dreams blossom and die. You've seen it all before you you're parted the seams, I can't deny. I'm losing grip of what I thought I knew. Oh, I'm losing it, I'm losing it for you.